Hello and welcome, listeners, to another edition of the Sonic Coast to Coasts podcast. Yay!
Special
They
edition.
say seven rings in hands. Well, welcome to seven pods in hands because this is the seventh episode, and we have a very special guest joining us today. The one, the only, Chauvel. Yay!
Yay! Hi, how you guys doing?
Hey, hey,
Well,
hey.
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Radrey?
I'm alright. I'm doing fine. As I said prior, I have, if I seem a little out of it, it's because I have a toothache, and it's kind of, it's limiting my, what would you call that? My finesse. So it's hurting my style. It's really hurting me, but I think I could do it. I mostly
for vibe.
Yeah, it's hurting my vibes. It's not a vibe.
Oh, I feel on that one. My throat's a little scratchy today. But enough about us. Let's talk to our special guest, Chauvel. How are you today?
I'm doing good today. No tooth problems that I know of right now. I hope you're able to take care of that very quickly, Radley.
Oh yeah, that'll be fine.
But I'm doing I'm doing good. It's been an awesome week. All this time I thought it was Saturday for some reason. But I'm happy Friday to everyone. I know by the time this goes up, it probably won't be Friday, but
well, everyone listening will feel like they're in that Friday sense of mood. So when they listen to this,
yeah,
like Friday, that's a good day. Yeah,
it's so weird because it has nothing to do with anything. But I usually say Happy Saturday to folks on Discord and some text messages. So I wrote Happy Saturday to everyone I know, and no one corrected me.
Well, wow. With time zones, we're all over the place. Like, it's, morning, midday where Radrey is, almost midnight for Chauvel, and the sun's still up for me on the West Coast. So we are everywhere. But before we get into our, the main topic of today, which is going to be Chauvel and just asking some questions about her and her relationship with Sonic. But before we do that, just recap of last week's episode. We went over all the IDW Sonic stuff as well as some Sonic news. There was a lot of it. The new issue of IDW Sonic issue 71 came out. It was awesome. That kind of wraps up last week. But moving on to this week. So the big news, as I had hyped up last week, was Anime Expo was going on in LA over the quasi 4th of July weekend, since 4th of July was on a Thursday, and it started then and it went through the weekend. So on Saturday around midday, there was a Sonic X Shadow Generations panel hosted by voice actor Zeno Robinson. If you've pretty much watched any anime in the last 2-3 years, you've probably heard him. Most people know him as Hawks from My Hero Academia or Gamma 2 from Dragon Ball Super Hero. The Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
I don't watch this one, so you're gonna have to help me. All right, go on.
So, Zeno is a great guy. I know he's been a Sonic fan. He's tweeted about it before. I think this is his way of trying to get a Sonic role somewhere down the line. So keep an eye out for him. But I
hope so. He's a great voice actor.
Oh yeah, he's actually really good. And he really seems to enjoy what he's doing. So yeah, it'd be fun to have him in the Sonic fandom. But so the trailer, not the trailer, but we'll talk about the trailer. The panel itself was about 45 to 50 minutes. It was rather short, but it was actually really fun. I was actually kind of surprised how into it the panel was. So the panel consisted of course, Takashi Iizuka, our head Sonic team, creative officer, alongside with his trusty translator. We had Kurt Thornton, the voice of Shadow, who I think everyone kind of was surprised with just how enthusiastic he was at the panel. Because, the guy's like 70 years old, and he was just like, seemed like he was having the time. Oh, yeah, he's like, let's see. I know he's like, lives up here I think he's down in Portland. But yeah, like, last time I checked, I thought he was, You know, he's been voiced.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I didn't know he was that old. I mean, relatively speaking, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, he's been voicing, doing voiceover work since the early '90s. So yeah, like okay,
That is true. That is true.
Okay, he's 68. So yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
You're never
And he's
too
been
old.
in
I
a
thought he was in
lot
his,
of
all the
things.
time. I thought he was in his like mid to late 50s. That's what I thought.
Oh yeah.
So that's how you do it, kids. Make people think you're in your late 50s.
Well, you know, with voice acting, you can make them believe a lot of things.
There you go.
True.
You can be a pushing 70-year-old man and make everyone think you're an immortal teenage hedgehog.
Nice.
Which he kind of does. But also with him was Stephanie Sheh, who, if you've watched any anime in the last 20 years, you've probably heard her. She was Hinata in Naruto, Orihime in Bleach, currently Sailor Moon. So she's got quite the little VA Infinity Gauntlet going on. And she is the new voice of Maria Robotnik. So she was really fun. She was wearing a little mask and it had a little Shadow and Maria sticker on it. It was very cute. Everyone really loved it. And then there were 3 gentlemen from Studio Gygax I didn't write down their names. I feel terrible about it. But they talked about the little clip that they showed from the is it Dark Origins or Dark Rising? I feel terrible for not knowing. Let me look it up.
Hosting fail. Google man, help us out.
Dark Beginnings.
Okay, your guess is as good as mine. I don't go that deep into this stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So some interesting tidbits. We had been talking in the last episodes of like what is Sega's MO, what are they trying to do, and I kind of thought this would kind of give us a little hint, and it did, but probably not as big as we wanted to. But we did learn some fun stuff. Takashi Iizuka talked about the creation and origins of Shadow when they were working on him in the late 90s, and how kind of the origin of it was they wanted like a dark, anti-hero character. And he talked about Spawn being a major influence, red and black and a little white. And, Zeno was like, well, I thought Vegeta was the inspiration. He said no, but there were documents soon found during the live stream of, character art of Shadow, at least even in the, his original Terios persona of description of personality, Vegeta. So, why are you lying, Iizuka? Why are you lying?
Yes. I thought that was I wouldn't say the most surprising thing I heard out of this franchise, but it did kind of catch me off guard. It's like, Spawn, really? Well, again, Shadow always gave me that Vegeta-ism.
Oh, yeah, especially recently. Yeah, and Spawn, again, was kind of an odd thing, though. Sonic has had a weird history with Spawn, because if you've read Archie comics...
God, no!
There was...
Yes,
yeah, we have to I guess we have to talk about this.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
All right.
So,
I hate that
surprise,
issue,
surprise. Oh, it's a terrible issue. I don't know what
that issue.
Like, you had
and this
Sonic
is coming from someone who read the comic, who brought the comic then, because I was a big Spawn fan.
Oh, really?
Obviously, I was like the right age for it. It was like cool, edgy comic image. I ate that up, and even I thought that issue was very, very bad. It was a WTF, but actually buying it and reading it, I was like, oh, this is not good.
Well, and for those wondering what the hell we're talking about, so back in the Archie days, and what they called their annuals were called Supersonic Specials, which is kind of a catchy name, if we're being honest. And one of them was this crossover between Image Comics heroes, Spawn, the Savage Dragon, Max or something, I forget, some weird purple bird thing, and like the main Sonic crew. Now, there were a couple of notes. Of one, of course, this issue was written by Ken Penders, and it was kind of, if you know anything about kind of some of his plans for the characters at the time, Robotnik was out of the picture, and this is kind of before Robo Robotnik or Eggman showed up. So he was trying to create like this new villain called like Dr. Ian Droid. So kind of like a pun on Android.
I got this.
But it's kind of funny that the character's first name was Ian. Future Ians in the Sonic fandom. But it's a weird issue. It was supposed to like tie into some of that Knuckles future stuff that he had, kind of initially penned out before it becoming Mobius 25 years later. But probably the most infamous scene from that issue was...
Of course you're going to talk
read it,
about
you know what... we have to talk about it.
We have to talk about it.
Sally is asking some random human for help.
Wait. That's a random human? I thought that was actually like a character. They like had like a backstory.
It may be a character. I forget who it was. I never really read the Image comics.
Me too. It's been ages since I read that issue.
Yeah. And I think he actually was like supposed to be like one of the big characters in Image. But like she's asking him for help. And then again, because somehow their editors don't do their jobs or just kind of skip things over. So instead of just like a general expression of, hey, can you help us? She gives him bedroom eyes and he just smiles.
It's really, it's kind of unsettling, but I mean, hey.
It's unsettling and it's being
very unsettling. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Sonic's history with Spawn. But what's really interesting with the Shadow component, because we had talked about in episode 2 when they revealed all of Shadow's new powers, or some of his new powers, like the wings, and we were making the Venom comparisons. Well, Spawn's creator, Todd McFarlane, is credited, at least co-credited, with the artistic design for Venom from the 80s. He had a big infamous run on the 80s as the artist for Spider-Man. And I think part of the reason when he went out to form Image was some of the rights issues with Venom, because of course Venom was the big deal. He still kind of is. So, so Spawn influenced Shadow, created by Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane creates Venom. Shadow now has Venom-esque wing powers and other things.
Yep, not Vegeta. Are you writing this down?
Not Vegeta. So we have to wonder.
Not Vegeta.
Is Todd gonna sue Sega for plagiarism of his character? Now, there's
this serious doubt. It
would be funny.
Like anything, is that it's inspiration. It's a homage to it, and there's no like clear connection other than the wings.
The wings that we know of yet.
I don't know. Maybe he'll have a split personality. It's Venom 2.
Wait until they give Shadow a long tongue and fangs.
Yeah.
Now, some people will love that. Others might not.
I might do it. I might see it.
I'd love to see your artwork of that, Chauvel. Your artwork's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. I love the Dragon Ball Super spin-offs. The Supersonic Rose. That was a classic.
Being a Dragon Ball fan and a Sonic fan doesn't hurt sometimes.
Yeah, things tend to blend together when you like enough of the things. Like, oh yeah, this all fits perfect. Iizuka also told us in the panel that Shadow's red marks were inspired by Kabuki face paint, which makes sense if you look at like Kabuki mask and the marks on Shadow's clothes. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Made sense to me.
I think he said this before that it was based on Kabuki theater, but it checks out. I could probably go into a whole thing about Kabuki theater and like Shadow, but we'll save that for another podcast. Because Kabuki theater, it's actually quite interesting. But yeah, go on. Fun fact.
So, fun fact. Sonic 3 is just all going to be Kabuki. It's not CGI.
No,
it's all Kabuki.
I don't want that at all. I could barely understand Kabuki, in its own. Even like, what is it? Like, even Japanese people have trouble understanding Kabuki.
It's like what? Trying to understand opera here.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's sort of like opera meets like Shakespeare. And you're like, what? What are they saying?
It's an extra layer of confusion.
Yeah, you just shake your head, nod. You're like, oh, that's cool, I guess. What are they saying?
I'm sophisticated. I get this. Midsummer Dream. I totally got this. I know what he's putting down.
Yeah, the Tale of Two Hedgehogs. All right. Next in the panel was Kirk, who again was super energetic, and I think it kind of took everyone by surprise just how excited he was to be there, because he took over the shadow role from Jason Griffith in when they did the baton toss and after Unleashed. I think it was either Free Riders, which was that terrible Connect game, though I think the first time you hear Kirk's shadow was Free Riders, and then he had a one line in the original Sonic Generations, which was 2011. So he's voiced Shadow for 14 years now, but really all he's done has been Twitter takeovers, a couple episodes of Sonic Boom, and Boom Shadow is just its own little thing. It's not even really Shadow, and then a couple things for Sonic Forces. So, and then the Lego toy commercial that they did earlier this year, which actually got him trending on Twitter because everyone really liked it. So it was nice to see him get some love because everyone just says he's the worst Shadow. They all love Jason Griffith or David Humphries. Though old Ian Hamlin from Sonic Prime's gotten a lot of love too for his portrayal of Shadow. I like them all, but about how he's learned more about Shadow and the panel weeks leading up to the panel than he had in all the years playing him, because he just really didn't have anything to work with. But he was really super excited to do it. He was happy that he got to leave his mark, or in the process of VA recording, that they put the time and the money to get all the takes right and find the right vocal inflection. He also had he had a goat idea for what Shadow's favorite food is, because of course the Twitter takeovers have kind of portrayed Shadow as a coffee bean addict. He doesn't drink coffee; he just eats the coffee beans. But Kirk had the idea that Shadow's favorite food should be jalapeno poppers with caviar and cream cheese in the middle.
Hold on! Stop, real quick. Who established the coffee bean thing?
That would be the Twitter takeover.
That was just the Twitter. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I like the idea that Shadow really likes spicy food. With caviar, that seems a little bit pretentious for him, but okay.
I love caviar.
I always had this idea, if he cooked or something, like a long time ago, there was this Archie cover where they were having all the characters were cooking and they had their own style, like Sally can't cook for shit, or Bunny made sweets or something like that. And I just always thought, if Shadow cooked, it'll all be super spicy food that, it'll be like hot ones, except that no one can handle it, and he calls everyone weak that they can't handle his dishes.
This is the ultimate hot sauce. It's actually funny is in the Sonic cookbook, the two thing, I think he's got 3 dishes. One is a coffee espresso dessert, and then the other is called the ultimate tortilla, and then he has another one which is a burrito wrap. And it's, and of course, and all these things they have. Oh yeah, it's if you're ever looking at the Sonic cookbook, just flip through. Ian Flynn wrote all these little fun little dialogues of the characters, and Reg makes a comment "Oh, these were really tasty on our last mission." He's like, "I didn't make them for you." So it was fun. It's good shenanigans.
I wonder what Omega would make.
Oh, Mega just he could.
It would probably taste like something that that would be produced by a 3D printed computer.
Oil.
What's some type of food that's only made by a machine? That's probably what it would taste like.
Only robots would eat or know about.
Well, it was funny. It's when I was watching the stream when he said that. It's not it's he had this in his mind. He had this planned out. This wasn't something he just pulled out, right then and there. This was a rehearsed line in his head of Shadow likes jalapeno poppers, but to be a little edgy, he's got a little caviar in there. I'm like, that's actually pretty hilarious, and I love it.
That is actually pretty funny. And it makes me wish that we had a kitchen or Top Chef wars, but with Sonic characters.
That would be pretty great.
Just an issue. I'm not asking for much. Who would win?
It'd probably be Vanilla or Amy would win. They seem to be the big cookers of the characters these days.
True. Too sweet though. They probably have too many sweet dishes.
Probably. Then we move on to Stephanie. She talked a lot about portraying Maria because again, Maria's so young. She has the NIDS, which is the neurological immunity defense, whatever Sonic's version of AIDS was, and she talked about how portraying the character.
That's just
so weird.
Just really funny to
say
me.
That.
Yeah, that's true. I remember this. You are right, Malzilla.
See, it's the neuroimmune deficiency syndrome, aka NIDS. How Maria got that, I don't know, but that's just something she had, and that's why she lived on the Ark with Gerald, because it was, they could treat her.
It's called a plot device, is what it's called.
Plot device, exactly.
Yeah.
But what was really funny was when they were talking about, like, what is the dynamic between Shadow and Maria, and, Kirk talked about from Shadow's perspective, Maria is like his mission, he's got to protect her. But Stephanie, portrayed it as, like, she talked about how she has a little dog with, like, has black fur and, like, some red-brown stripes, and how it's very protective of her. It was very cute that, it's like, oh my god, Shadow is her little dog. And that kind of, that little pet dynamic, which
it is.
It was really cute when she talked about it. Then they kind of went to the Studio Gygax guys. Now, this is the team that did Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that's a series that's gotten a lot of love from fans, and they're, it's very dynamic art style.
I've seen clips of Rise, but I gotta say, the clips I did see, very impressed. The animation is stellar.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And what's also funny is that Ben Schwartz voices Leonardo in that show. So.
Oh, I didn't know.
Ben Schwartz in The Color Blue. It continues to be,
his thing.
It's a thing. But, they talked about how it was interesting to doing all the physics. They talked about how to animate his Shadow's air shoes and kind of the physics you could see from him, skating around. They talked about how the script that they got from Ian Flynn was basically a deep lore bomb, and they had to, like, look up what he was referencing, because, of course, Ian seemed like he got to go crazy with this one. So I think it's something he's been wanting to do for a while. Ian's been kind of, I don't want to say vocal, but he's kind of made his, opinion that writing Shadow has been difficult with a lot of the, mandates from Sega. He's talked about how Evan's kind of been, she's better at playing ball and working within that. Well, Ian's kind of it's been kind of what the stories he's wanted to tell, and he's wanted to have Shadow do these things. They've kind of axed a few things here and there. So, but things to be changing, and so
hopefully, things are changing around, and they have more freedom to do more of these characters. I kind of think it's really needed.
Yeah, I was talking with Radrey a couple shows ago that it seems to be that the rule of cool is the one true law. So as long as you can make your idea sound cool, that might be how Sega gives you the approval.
Style over substance.
Yeah,
which might sound like a bad thing, but I honestly think, like, we need to do more of that.
Well, that was kind of what Daniel Barnes had talked about with Scrapnik Island, is that, he pitched the whole idea because he thought it was cool, and they're like, yeah, that is cool. Go ahead and have fun with that. He's like, okay.
And that is still one of my favorite IDW stories so far.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah, Scrapnik Island is... I liked it so much, I even brought the physical copy of that story. Yeah, I really love Scrapnik Island. It's I can go on about forever, but that's not what we're talking about, so continue.
At least not yet. So that actually brings us to the clip of Dark Beginnings. They showed about a 90-second clip, and it kind of blew everyone away, because before it they actually showed they gave out a poster to all those attending. And on the poster, they obviously have the picture of Shadow as he kind of, he's menacingly walking toward the the audience or the viewer or the listener, or however you want to be in this scenario. But there also, you got to see pictures of Gerald and Maria. Rouge and Omega were on the poster as well. So it's like, woohoo, Team Dark. But also, kind of what surprised everyone was the appearance of Emerald from Sonic Battle, which is a game that kind of not many people. Well, it was a Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah, I didn't play it.
Neither did I.
Remember those?
No. I don't know anyone who did, honestly. Like, Advance? Yeah, certainly. But Battle? I only seen it advertised in, like, magazine and comics, but I've never played it.
It was kind of this interesting, because it's kind of like a beat-em-up fighter arena game, but it actually had a story where it talked about how, because first you had Emerald, and then, like, he died at the end, and then in, like, one of the other Sonic Advanced games, Robotnik took the data to create Gemerald, who's, a main character hanging out with Cream and Vanilla. So there's a, legacy of the character. But Emerald had this ability where he was a war machine who could learn all the techniques. So he's kind of like, if you've played any fighting game, he's the copycat character. Like, he could steal moves. But in the clip, you see him, like, break out of containment and just start wrecking stuff. And then he goes after Gerald, and, Maria begs Shadow to go save him. So, you see Shadow skate off, and, they begin to fight before the clip ends. But what was really surprising, because I think we all kind of expected, this is just going to be like a 7 to 8 minute little, clip when it comes out, probably August or September. But then they announced there were going to be 3. So this is like a trilogy of shorts. So maybe it's going to be about 7 to 8 minute, I'd say probably no longer than 10, which explains why.
I was quite surprised to see people thinking they're going to make 3 22-minute episodes. It's like, whoa, slow down. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be like 8 to 10 minute tops episodes, Yeah.
They did announce when the first one was going to be released, but I figure it's going to be one of two things. Either they were going to release them, like, in the immediate weeks prior to the game's release in October, or they'll, like, release one in August, one in September, one in October, and then comes the game. So, So it's be one of those.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The animation, it is 3D, but it's kind of shell shaded, so it looks
to imitate 2D. Which, as an animator, I wouldn't say amateur animator anymore, but as a intermediate animator, I would say, like, I don't know how to feel about the whole 2D to 3D thing. I say, like, if you can make it work, then I'm all for it. And in this short, they really made it work. I thought it was
2D until someone mentioned it. I'm like, oh. Well,
I saw the hint of 3D. Like, I wasn't sure myself, or I thought, okay, this is definitely 3D. Like, you can tell. But it's really good. They did a seamless job in certain cuts.
Yeah. Well, Radrey, what'd you think?
Actually, I haven't watched them.
It's. You couldn't spend the 90 seconds to watch the clip.
I wasn't too intrigued. I'm like, should I watch this? I know I'm a terrible Sonic fan, but I was sort of like, I don't know what. I just did not feel inclined to push the play button. It's one of those where it's like it's like getting like a bill in the mail, and you're like, I guess I better open it. I guess I better pay for it. I know this sounds awful, but that's just how I felt.
It's worth checking out. It doesn't take.
I'm sure it is.
It doesn't take too much of your time. It's a pretty impressive minute, 90 seconds, I have to say.
Well, you'll have to watch the full thing when it comes out, Radrey. We forgive you this time.
Yes, this time.
Yeah, I know. All this stuff happens when I'm asleep, so I kind of feel like I got the FOMO so bad. So then it's like, oh man, I missed it. All right. Well, I'll catch it in like 3 years.
I missed the hype, the trending topics.
It's always like that sweet spot when I'm always like asleep. It's like I'm not waking up at like 4 or 5:30 in the morning. I'm not doing that. No.
I don't blame you, but I just usually it's like this short. I just caught it when someone shared the video with me, and that's when I watched it. But and but this little short, it opened up with, of course, the destruction of the Ark by uh Gemel. I don't remember how to
Emerald.
pronounce his name.
Emerald.
Gemerald. I should know that, but I really like that opening with Maria and Shadow. It's very sweet. But actually, it was kind of more intimate than I thought it was gonna be. Honestly,
He
it was
definitely kind
very.
of caresses his face in a very
I'm not being gross about this. I just honestly thought, like, is she gonna kiss him? Whoa, Sega, slow down here. That's not what I signed up for. But
they
but
did
it
learn
didn't
their
happen. It
lesson
was
from
just
'06.
yes, the '06 flashbacks. No, it was just a sweet, touching moment. And after she says, you have to save him," and Shadow makes that promise. There's that split second in the frame where it glitches, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah, that
see the gun soldiers or whatever with the guns pointing at her. And I thought that was like, oh, someone had to point that out. I didn't see it first time, and that was
well
a really
apparently
cool Easter egg there.
when on the panel, the one they played was this super cropped version that was so like zoomed in. But then on Monday they put it on Twitter from Sonic's, official, Twitter, and it was the
Mm-hmm.
regular resolution. So there was so much background like that people didn't see initially, and it kind of like
Ah.
so yeah, that was kind of one thing. Everyone's kind of like, how the hell did they do this? But yeah, clearly there's some stuff going on in that trailer. Is this maybe just some
Mhm.
flashbacks? Is this some kind of like mental
I
shenanigans
think
going
this is
on?
just like okay, I don't know if you guys probably have, but played the original Sonic Generations.
I have not played that one.
I have.
Oh, I played. I really it was kind of short, but I really liked it. And I think what it's playing with that is time travel shenanigans. Like it's still a flashback, but he's still kind of reliving it. And I guess this is a stupid crackpot theory. I guess because the Shadow Generations, whatever, and probably doing some time traveling shenanigans or something like that. That's glitching time. That's what I thought it was, at least.
Makes sense to me. Black Doom. Mephiles. This is all your fault.
Yeah. Like I said, I could be wrong, but we'll see.
We'll find out soon enough. That was
Yeah.
kind of the extent of the Anime Expo panel. Though that wasn't the only promotion material that came out this week. I believe it was yesterday on Thursday. Sega released a little kind of a, they call it the Eggman Archives, where you had Eggman narrate some of his antagonists, and he talked about Shadow and game footage, a lot of Sonic 06
Mm-hmm.
footage, oddly enough. He talks about, Shadow's air shoes, talks about the limiter rings, talks about chaos control. What was really interesting, though, and this is something that, again, Ian wrote it, so this is something Ian's writing, or at least he's gotten approve of. It actually connects to Frontiers a little bit, because in Frontiers, in the fishing mini game with Big the Cat, you can fish up these egg logs, which are like these little minute-long little audio files of Eggman exploring, the north, not it's not the north, yeah, the North Star Isles, or is that
It's weird because I haven't played
Starfall
Frontiers. Don't
Isles?
worry, you're not spoiling anything. I know enough about the game, but I do
Oh,
want to
this isn't
play it
even the game
though.
proper. This is just a little side thing, and
Okay.
he actually talks about Maria and how he never knew Maria, but everyone I guess in his family talked about her, and they seemed to love her, and it almost seemed like he was jealous that even though she was gone, she got all this attention. He didn't get anything. But he talks about Sage, and he wonders, would Sage and Maria get along, or were they alike? Which is interesting because in the little video that they threw up, not threw up or put out. He talks about how he never met Maria, but her death was very personal to him. So they're kind of developing, Eggman's more his connection to the greater Robotnik family, and kind of because that was one of those things where it's like Maria was such a focus in SA2, but they never, Shadow never really talked to Eggman about her. It's like, this is his cousin. You figured they'd have some kind of questions, but again, that was a game that came out in 2001. It's now 2024. Yeah. But that really was the extent of all the Sonic news. So, with the news out of the way...
Well, hold on. I got something to add to that.
Oh, he's got to add. Radrey, kick in. What do you got?
Yeah, before we pivot out of the news, Chauvel, is there anything you want to comment or talk about in terms of what we just talked about?
I wish I had more to say, because I was pitching in every now and then about my thoughts, from like the animation to the Vegeta Spawn thing, which I thought was funny. I think at this point it's like he's just gonna make stuff up on the fly.
That's what it seems like. It really seems like he's just making stuff up. But I don't know. I was one thing I wanted to actually talk about was I don't really have a good read on Iizuka. I don't.
Yeah.
I could talk about this a little bit more, but my theory. But anyway, Chauvel, continue.
I felt like it's amusing to me because it feels very Toriyama-like when when you have to like ask him in an interview, at least then, rest in peace. But when you have to ask him in an interview about, hey, can you explain this a little further? It's like the guy probably doesn't know anymore, or didn't think of it that deeply. So it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna say something that sounds like it would be right, and it's actually kind of funny to me. And I think Iizuka's like probably doing the same. Like, you put a mic in front of me, ask him a question about the deep lore, and you have to come up with something. Maybe he did, in fact, base Shadow off of Spawn. Who knows? It could have been subconscious or something.
This is actually something I forgot to add.
Go ahead.
If anyone's played SA2, and if they've played the Final Hazard, pretty much to the last minute, there's all this dialogue that kind of plays. They're like, go Sonic, go Shadow, you can beat him. But as your ring count goes lower, Shadow has this line that has stuck with the fans for years, which really, it was a throwaway line that suddenly everyone now invested in.
That's when you know you're in trouble, when it's a throwaway line.
Where basically says, Sonic, you're the ultimate life form. And everyone's like, what does he mean by that? Because again, of course, Shadow falls to Earth, and gets saved, and that's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then I know, like, Vegeta, they brought it up in the Twitter takeover like a year ago of like, supposedly Sonic tried to reach out to grab him, but he kind of like knocked it away. So, like, that's where, when Sonic comes back to the Ark, he's got one of the limiter rings that he gives to Rouge. So it's like, well, how did he get that? But I guess Iizuka's kind of like, I gotta think of something on the fly. Answer was that, well, maybe in the moment, because he was losing rings and Sonic was going strong, and then, he fell and then had amnesia and found out, like, oh, I'm going to die, so I guess Sonic's the ultimate life form. I'm like, oh, no, I'm still alive. I'm the ultimate life form. It was just, he has this great facepalm moment from the stream where it's just like, we got to find that.
I don't know, Malzilla. My ears are bleeding listening to this. Continue.
I feel like if I ever made a story or an original story that, fingers crossed, ever gets even remotely popular, and I feel like if fans ask me questions about stuff, like, even I would struggle, because maybe you need a Oda, like Ichiro Oda from One Piece, who knows so much that he'll never forget anything. He knows backstory, blood type of his characters.
What are the salad
And then you have the opposite end.
Yeah.
And then you have like the opposite end where people are just like, I just made it up. And I think I'll probably be on the made it up category. Such.
Oh, here
But
it
it's fun. Go ahead.
Radrey, I'm sending you in the chat. This could be our thumbnail.
I don't know. I don't think you want to use that thumbnail. For our audio listeners out there who can't see what it is we're looking at, it's the Malzilla just sent me a picture of Iizuka face palming. So I don't know if we want to use that for Chauvel. You know, the episode we ever listen to our episode. It has Iizuka face palming.
We'll save it for another time then.
All right, okay, we'll figure something out.
Great good reaction meme. I think I'm gonna save that for when I need it.
Yes. Well, I don't know, because on this show, I don't know if people who've been listening, we have a segment at the very end called the Iizuka elevator pitch, and I think I'm going to save what my opinions are for this long panel at that point, because I do have something to say.
Okay.
So before we dive into our lovely guest that is with us today, I want to stress that I don't know if anybody here has been to Sonic Symphony or knows about Sonic Symphony, but one of the maestro, or the music producer who's produced the entire show, who's transcribed the entire show, that's pretty much the jack of all trades of the show, Nakama Shota, or Shota Nakama if you're here in America. Well, I'm in Japan, but you guys are in the U.S. I interviewed him when he came here to Tokyo.
Awesome.
So if you like interviews, and you want to know more about how the Sonic Symphony was put together, how it came to be, I highly recommend the interview. I've cut it up to the first issue. The first episode is online now. You can go watch it. We also got a chance to interview Tomoya Otani, the composer for Frontiers. I can't remember his pedigree. Help me out here, Malzilla. Feed me answers. What else did he do?
Oh God,
he's done a bunch. He's Sonic Man. I mean, well, he's not Sonic Man. Iizuka's Sonic Man.
Is he Dreams Come True? Is that someone else?
I think that's him. I don't know. I should know. I don't know. I think I'm getting old, man. It's like I'm starting to forget things. I'm like, why can't I remember this? And it's like, then I'll be walking to the refrigerator and I'm like, that was it. It was this one, right? And why is my brain working in 2K speed or something? Anyway, yeah. So we interviewed him as well, and then there's a 42-minute, the long extended version, which I highly recommend. Personally, for me, I like long extended interviews where we get really, because I went really deep and we talked about his humble beginnings, starting out in Okinawa, and then, making it all the way to, virtuoso, essentially. Because I don't know, I'm not sure if you watched the show or you've seen some of it on YouTube. What he does is incredible. It's I could not do any of that.
I didn't go to the Sonic Symphony. I really wanted to, but time and schedule did not permit.
Right. Well, I mean, the excellent thing about Shota is that because he speaks Japanese and English. Because I think one of the things that Americans have really struggled with in terms working with Japan when it comes to the Sonic brand is they can't really. I mean, even myself, I have trouble with this myself. When I talk to people in Japan, there's the cultural differences, and then there's also the language. So not really being able to pick up on both right away, it does kind of limit your communication. But Shota has no problem. And the problem is, another thing with him is that he, I mean, what can I say? He has no problem, and he also has the Okinawa angle, so he could use a lot of essentially what we call a gaijin smash, but essentially he can ask for things and get things done quicker than probably somebody like Ian Flynn or somebody else can. But you'd have to see the interview, and it's just to see this guy's he's something else. I mean, I don't know if you followed him on Twitter or you were reading his posts, but yeah, I can't hype this interview up enough. One of the highlights of the year for me personally.
Gonna need to check it out for sure.
I could talk about
Another
this for hours.
To listen to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a live interview. It's actually me. It's not just me talking on Zoom to people. No, it's none of this stuff. So we actually had like high professional, like we had a guy who works abroad in Japan videos help us out. So
oh, nice.
He was the cameraman, and we got sound and everything. And my girlfriend helped me out a lot too. So. Anyway, the first episode is out now. Go watch it on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's on this channel. So, and maybe I might release the audio version on Sonic Historian. But with that out of the way, with all this plugging,
I do have one more thing.
Yes, continue.
It escaped my mind, but I wanted to add it because it was kind of a funny. It's another Takashi Iizuka kind of lines. Well, apparently, like in the last couple of days, like there was a report, like from an interview that Sonic has never done an RPG, and he wants to do a. Sonic
yes,
RPG.
Yes, you did forget to mention this. Yes,
and everyone's kind of like, do we need to tell him that there was a Sonic RPG?
I think no. Malzilla, you don't understand. He's doing a Jedi mind trick on us. He's trying to make us forget that Sonic Chronicles exists.
I thought that was actually really funny. It was more like he has to know, right? It's very
Who is this Ken Penders you speak of?
It's like maybe he actually doesn't. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe it just fell under his radar.
Maybe he's like me. He can't remember anything.
Yeah.
It's
I don't remember everything in this franchise. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yep.
That's funny.
Especially games that may or may not cause the lawsuit or something.
Alrighty then. We might need to move on. That up. We have to bring that up. I mean, well, we're gonna save it for the Iizuka corner at the end. I got other things to say. I got stuff to say. Nice. This is why we have this segment, because as Sonic fans, well, we'll get to this later. So Chauvel's with us. We brought her onto the show because, as you may or may not know, I don't know, they say everybody's show is the first show. On the show, we love the character God damn it, Sally Acorn. I was about to say Sally Acorn. No, Sally Acorn, and we're a big fan of this character. And of course, once you become a big fan of a character, you eventually you go out there on the internet and you find all this great fan art. And I'm pretty sure that's how Malzilla and I discovered Chauvel. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Am I incorrect?
I think I bumped into Chauvel a few years ago, like through her Dragon Ball art and then Patreons and whatnot. And so, but it's only within like the last, few months that we've talked a lot. It's like, oh, you like these things. I like these things. Here we are on the internet and we find out like, all these things that we like kind of intersect. And it's
like playground rules where you meet someone. It's like, you like dinosaurs? I like dinosaurs. Let's be best friends forever.
Best analogy. There you
go. That's how we go. I'm not saying we're best friends. That's actually just a joke. But it's just like one of those things where you bond over, common interest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So paint us a little bit of a picture of, I guess, your Sonic history. Like, how did you first discover the comic? How did you first, when was the first time you posted artwork here on, the internet?
Oh,
give us a little bit of background on that.
I am a very old school Sonic fan. I know a lot of people got into Sonic, people my age, the elder millennial, got into it with Sonic 2. I actually played Sonic 1 before I played Sonic 2. Like, I played Sonic 1 and I couldn't beat it. I was like, okay, this is fun, but I don't know if it's as Mario fun. And then my cousin handed me down, once he was done beating the game like a million times, he gave me Sonic 2, and I instantly became a fan. This is like in the 90s, obviously.
Yeah.
And I love that game. That was the first game I could remember that I was actually able to beat from after many tries from the first level to the last. And that was like a really exciting moment for me as a kid. And and then the Sonic cartoon or Sonic SatAM was on Saturday mornings. I loved it. I even like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which confused me because
Confused
I didn't
everybody.
know why these why these two were on the same almost the same time. But I became an instant fan. I love the games. I like, the Sega's mascot, which was like Sonic with a cool attitude. Believe it or not, that whole joke of like cool dude with an attitude, that shit actually worked on me, and it worked on a lot of kids too. He was the cool cartoon hedgehog who had an attitude, who runs really fast and eat chili dogs, you know. And that was like a really exciting thing. And I started watching the cartoon on Saturday morning. And here's a fun little thing that not a lot of people remember, and I can't find it on YouTube. But there was a kind of crossover with the TGIF or whatever they're showing was doing a promotional thing, and sometimes they'll talk about Saturday morning cartoons between commercials.
Okay.
So they had instead of having Family Matters do a thing, they got that other show. I can't remember. I think Sinbad was on it, maybe.
Okay.
So they
We're
said
in
like
the deep '90s here, folks.
yes. So they're the kid actors on the show are they just announce the next cartoon that's coming up and how it ends. So they just gather around the couch and Sonic's in trouble, and then there's a commercial break, and the actors will say, "How did he get out of this one?" It's very, very silly. But I can't seem to find that clip anywhere online. I just thought it was funny.
I didn't even know that
But
existed. Okay, I didn't.
No,
Okay.
yeah,
that's true.
it did. It's not like the Mandela effect either. That actually happened. I talked to someone
It's
else who
not
remembered the
Kazam.
same thing.
Yeah, it's not Sinbad's Kazam. Yeah. Okay.
No,
All right.
like I talked to someone else who also remembered this vividly. So I'm not crazy, thank God. But after that, I just followed the franchise through the comics. I started buying the comics very early because there was a comic book shop that was in my neighborhood, and I went there every Wednesday to pick up an issue of Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog.
What was your
And
first
I
issue?
don't know. This was my first issue.
Oh no. What
Sonic
do you remember?
issue
What
number.
issue number?
Yes, I remember the exact issue number. Sonic issue number 50.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That far.
Endgame.
Endgame. Yeah, I jumped into that immediately,
Wait.
and I
You got in
got
that late. I thought because
that I always saw it there. I always saw the comic at the comic book shop, but despite being a Sonic fan, I only had enough money to buy one or two comics.
Oh,
So
what
I
would you
was kind
usually
of
buy?
saving my money. Oh, DC or Marvel.
Oh,
It
okay.
was either Spider-Man or it was X-Men or it was Batman. I'm a big DC fan. I'm a comic book nerd, and I had to finish. I forgot what it was. It could have been the Clone Wars, well I remember, but it was a specific arc that was going on that lasted what felt like forever. That was going on in Marvel Comics. So I kept spending my money on that every Wednesday or every once a month, whatever, so I wouldn't get lost. Because those things that, hey, you got to buy issue 12 to see what Spider-Man's doing in issue 20 in X-Men 28. I was like, oh my God,
That stuff
I have
drove
to
me
buy them all. I have to
crazy.
know.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. And finally, I saw issue 50 being my comic book store did this thing where they advertise the comic of the month. And issue 50 of Sonic the Hedgehog Endgame was featured for the first time. I didn't see any of the issues put up there. And they put it up, and I said, you know what? I'm actually gonna stop buying this because DC and Marvel was taking a nosedive in quality, honestly. And we all know because this is 90s comics, especially high 90s. So a lot of like Rob Fellion like stories. And I finally picked it up, and I was like on board immediately. Looking back, not the best stories, but but then to me it was everything. So I brought issue 50, and I just went backwards for a while. I started buying issue 49, 48. I looked through like the boxes you get in comic book stores,
Oh
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
try to
Long
buy as
boxes.
many
Back issues.
many back issues as possible. I actually have, I think I have, it's packed away because I moved from places to places. Sonic issue number 1.
Nice.
I went all the way back as far as I could. There's some issues missing here and there, but I managed to pick it up, and I had all the comics up until that point, and I kept buying it afterwards too. So 50 and above. And that's the origin story basically of why I like Sonic so much, and Sally, and all these characters. I also played, God, like so many of the games, like Sonic 2, and then I went to 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, etc. Sonic CD, which I had a Sega CD, which broke within a month.
Oh, so you actually had a
And
Sega CD. I don't know. I've never met anyone who actually owned it.
Me too.
I did. I
Wow.
did, and
That's
it didn't.
rare.
It lasted. It lasted for a month. I don't know how long yours lasted.
Oh, I didn't have one. I just had the Genesis.
Oh, I had the Genesis too. The CD. I think probably why it broke was because I got it off another kid
Oh.
who my parents brought it from, and
Sabotage.
it just broke. It just like for some reason it was a laser disc, whatever. Well, not a laser disc, but whatever inside of it, it was kind of shifted and it just didn't work anymore. So I couldn't play it, but I did manage to play Sonic CD at least.
Wow. That's pretty
That was like
rare.
the only game I. That's like the only game I played for it anyway. And
Yeah.
then years later, you had Sonic Adventure, which was like the game at the moment. I had a Dreamcast too. I got a Dreamcast just for that game, and I absolutely loved it. Glitches aside, I that's nostalgia because if you try to play it again, it's yeah. But that was definitely nostalgia. And eventually, I got Sonic Adventure 2, not for the Dreamcast. I got it for the GameCube. Uh, and that was the first time I was able to play, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Got the story. Shadow was like, to me, it's weird because I did like Shadow, but I was in love with Shadow like most fans were. I thought he was cool, but he was a little too cool for me.
The
And
coolest.
he's the coolest. I thought it was pretty fun. When it came to fan art now, this is like even before Sonic Adventure 2, I did fan art of the characters, and I mailed it in to Archie. Never got featured in the book though. Unfortunately, I sent the
What?
original drawings. Never got
Okay.
it in there.
What?
My
I mean, if
editor got in
anyone, I know
there.
this is an audio show. Again, anybody should go over and just type in Chauvel onto Google. You can find her work. It's phenomenal. It's great.
I guess at the time it just didn't hold up my
What, okay,
art. I don't
let me
know.
ask you this. What year was this?
This was in the late '90s, I think.
Okay. All right.
So
Maybe there was just too much competition or something.
yeah, I was still very, very much amateur, or maybe I just didn't. It's just I'm sure they gotten plenty of fan art and fan mail. It just didn't make it through. I
Oh
totally
yeah.
understand.
There were so many
I
in
don't have
there.
anything against the editors. My letter did make it through, though. I wrote a
Oh,
letter. It's the most. I wrote several letters, and of course, the most tame one went through. I wasn't unhinged
Oh,
or anything, but I was
okay.
definitely asking some like questions that were edgy, young teen
I
questions.
gotta
So,
know, what were
but only
they?
one
Do you
went through.
remember?
yeah. You must
Oh
tell us
God.
now.
Okay. The first one about Sonic and Sally,
Classic.
and
Love it.
I did ask, will we see them get married, and will we have a special honeymoon issue that's only meant for adults? I did wrote that.
Nice.
This is not.
Wow.
I was just like, so I just want to see them get married, and I want to see like stuff.
Which
I'm
we technically
stupid,
did. We technically did see them get
Yes,
married.
yeah.
It happened off
That
panel.
never got answers. Yes.
Well, actually, they did a couple of those like fake marriages back in the gag area days.
Yeah.
Like they did the whole play, and then there was the warped
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah,
And then, of
I
course,
remember those
they did
too.
get
But I
married.
was asking if they'll get married for real. I want to see them get married for real, and I want to see them have hedgehog babies. It was
Sonya
so
and Manic.
bad. I just yeah.
Well, how did you
My
feel
second letter. Okay.
when they finally revealed Sonya and Manic Acorn? Did like your young self feel vindicated? You're like,
Not
this is what
really,
I.
because I didn't
Oh
like
no.
it. It was a monkey's paw. I wanted to see them get married and the children, but it wasn't what I wanted. So I was a monkey's paw. My second letter was I wrote my great dislike for Mina Mongoose.
Oh, a Mina hater. She's trying to steal Sally's man.
This is teen me, probably young teen me. I don't remember what age I was when Mina Mongoose appeared. I was very upset, so I wrote some choice words about her.
Oh.
And finally,
you mean choice words you can't say in this podcast? That kind of choice?
I didn't write really mean. I knew that I was definitely writing to,
out of spite.
I was out of spite, but it wasn't like I wasn't like saying you fucking pieces of it wasn't so bad. I was just yeah, I went on like a 3-page rant about how much I didn't like Mina Mongoose.
3 pages.
It was at least I think it was, but I know it was longer than it should have been.
That's understandable if it was Jeffrey, but Mina was, well, at least when Ian got a hold of Mina, and toward the tail end of, I think actually, before that, when they made her a musician, that's when she actually got interesting. It's like, okay, you have a character now.
It's weird because even though I wrote how much I didn't like Mina, I didn't hate her. I don't even know why I went off. I actually kind of liked her. I just didn't like the love triangle that was going on forever. I think I mostly complained not about Mina Mongoose, but how okay, this whole schism or whatever between Sally and Sonic has to end. Can we just have them date and be happy? So
or like they did for 2 issues, and then Sonic went off to space, got shot off into space.
Yeah. And then finally, my third one was something simple. I told them that I really love the comic. I've been a fan forever. And I'm wondering if they're going to reprint some of the back issues. That one made it through. That was the letter that made it through.
Is it
not my insane ramblings or anything like that?
Okay. And well, is the letter printed under the same name that you're using now?
Yes, actually, and you can find it. It doesn't matter. It just says my last name on it, which is my username anyway. I don't know if I gave away too much, but everyone knows that. But
you writing this down, folks? No, I'm kidding.
it's in that. Oh, and my address is. No, I'm not doing that.
Do you remember what issue it was?
It was the one where Sonic is trapped in the webs.
Oh, that one. Okay. I don't know what number that is either.
Yeah, I don't remember that number, but I was happy to see at least one of my and to be honest, even then I was happy it was that letter and not my insane ones.
That would be crazy if they posted a 3-page letter in that Archie book.
House.
Well, considering how well, considering how limited that book was at the time, maybe they would have. that super special, what was it? Like the one where they just have panels of black nothing and it's just noises going on.
I have that. It's just I have the issue. It was just nothing but patterns of snow because it was a snowstorm.
What's that one called?
Nothing.
Scott, help us out.
I don't know.
Malzilla.
Which one?
The one where
it was the one where there's 3 or 4 pages of just white.
Oh, that were I think it was Nagus Games. It's basically
Nagus Games. That's it. Yes.
Yeah. God, how do I know all this shit?
Because you're Archie historian here. I mean, your game's more
I'm the
unlocked than
lore.
mine is.
I am the lore master, the lore guardian. Okay.
So that was like it was. I was happy that was the one that was picked. It was a team letter, but just to see my letter get in there was just made my entire month, my entire year probably. But
yeah, I'd feel great about
yeah,
that too.
and once I saw that, I started doing fan art of the characters. It was before I was drawing before, but nothing. I was mostly, like I said, I was a DC Marvel person, so I was drawing a lot of superheroes, a lot of Spider-Man, Batman, etc. And then finally, after reading Sonic for so long, I started drawing Sonic fan art, and I just they weren't great because for some reason I can't explain this. I know Adam Bryce Thomas, a Sonic comic artist, made these jokes before, but why is Sonic the hardest character to draw out of all these characters? So I started drawing Sonic and Sally. They were my ship. I love them to death. Um, I never hated Amy. I know, like growing up, um, I'm getting into my late teens, probably mid-teens, I don't remember, but a lot of people who are into Sonic, they either love Sally or they hated Sally, or they loved Amy or they hated Amy.
It was a
And
very
I was like,
diverse time in the fandom, kind of that
oh yeah,
early to mid 2000s. Because like, if you look at the Sonic history, like the Sonic fan timeline, there's that giant little Sonic boom of fans between like 2002 and 2005. All the people who came
yeah,
in off of like SA2 Battle, Heroes, Sonic X, which were, again, that's more of the game universe. Like, I remember talking to people like, yeah, I watched Sonic X and I found out there was a comic. It's like, who the heck are these guys? It's like, funny you should store that. Turns out that's not the first Sonic cartoon. Us 90s kids had one. And that's
yes.
kind of where they built it from. So, yeah, it's kind of, and it became again, the ship wars. It's like, if you liked Sally, you hated Amy. If you liked Amy, you hated Sally. Yada yada. The mud flinging.
And I was
There's
like somewhere, like of course I love Sally more because Sally, I grew up with
yeah.
Sonic Saturday Morning. I grew up with the comics. I did play the games too, so I knew about Amy during Sonic CD, or whatever, where you save the pink hedgehog. I forgot her name during that time, so she was just the pink hedgehog. And I never, and then when I played Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2, I liked her a lot. So I think it depends. It really depends on like when or what you grew up with. Like there are fans who grew up with Sonic X who only knew Amy, didn't know anything about Sally. There are millennials like me who like, oh, I like Sonic Saturday Morning. I like Sally a lot more than Amy. Amy's annoying or something like that.
We all
And
kind
I'm
of went
just
through that one.
somewhere like in the middle where I'm just like, I like them both. I think Amy's cute. I like Amy a lot. I like her giant hammer. She has a cool personality, I think. Sally is really cool to me. I grew up with that character. I grew up with her and Sonic being a thing. So yeah. And I was like, that's my God, the internet then of the Sonic fans were pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting time.
Yeah,
But that's
the
when I
early
started
days of
posting
the
up
internet.
comics. Yeah, early days of the internet was really wild, especially the fandom. It's weird to say fandom now because back then there's just like fans and how crazy they were. It's so funny how I gone for years and I've never made a hedgehog OC. Never made one. And everyone who I knew who were artists made a OC of some kind with a Sonic character. And I'm not saying I'm above it or I'm better than you. It just never really something I wanted to do. When I did my own fan comics, I like creating like new characters that just fit in the background. or serve
I
their purpose
remember
to
some of
help the main characters.
Your Sonic art that I always found kind of funny is it was kind of the post boot era stuff where they had Ian had made Madonna like a gun agent, and you had kind
Oh
of done
yes,
those recurring jokes of like, oh, here's Sonic, my ex, I have to look
yeah.
fab, and Sonic's like, oh hey.
Yes, I don't know why. I do know why. I love making that joke. The Sonic's in that continuity, Sonic's ex-girlfriend is Madonna Garnett because based on those early concepts of Sonic and Madonna, basically. When he had a human girlfriend at the time, the early concept art, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if she
And
was
then Sonic
if
06 happened, and
and
everyone's
then
like,
06 happened.
well, actually, that cracks me up if you think about it, because like, you know, everyone loves Rouge and Topaz from Sonic X. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like they were kind of almost the first, human. Well, no, that would be technically be Madonna Sonic, but kind of in that same human, Mobian type thing. And then it's like, oh no,
It's the
Sonic
one that
06.
people remember. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Topaz and Rouge. I actually did like those two when I was watching Sonic X.
They were
Wasn't a
about
fan of Sonic X, but I really did like those two.
yeah. I'm the same. I wasn't a huge fan, but they had a fun dynamic.
Oh yeah. And yeah, that's mostly the rest is to say the rest is history is so cliche. But it kinda is. I've been a fan for a long time. The past few years, 5 years maybe, I kinda dipped a little bit out of the franchise, not because I hated anything. Not because of the fans, not because of the games, not because of the stories. It's just something that just happened. And I'm actually recently been getting back into it, like reading. I didn't read all of it, but I read the last issue of Sonic IDW because it caught my attention. I really wanted to see that. I did read parts of some arcs, not uh, the entire whole issue yet of IDW Sonic, but I'm rereading it. I'm going to play Sonic Frontiers finally when I have the chance to download it, and I'm kind of slowly getting back in again, and it's actually been kind of fun and exciting. It's
Yeah,
been a while since I felt that way.
I think it's actually really interesting is I feel like so many people I've talked to since I've gotten back into Sonic. It's like, yeah, we all fell off for like 10, 12 years, and then for several of us it was the first movie that kind of brought us all back into the limelight, and then kind of like, oh, catching up on all this stuff I missed. Holy crap, did I miss a lot?
It wasn't a movie for me, even though I did see the movie. I saw both Sonic 1 and 2. The movie. It wasn't a movie. The movie I thought was cute and charming. Uh, of course, Eggman or Jim Carrey steals the show each and every time, and I love him for that. But it wasn't a movie. What got me back in was honestly just people's enthusiasm. It was nice seeing people excited for the games, excited for the movie. It was like you kind of felt that excitement, and that what kind of made me kind of peek my head back in to see what's been going on.
Yeah, dip the toe back into
Yeah,
the
just
well.
dip my toe back in here, make sure the sharks ain't circling around.
It's funny
And have some fun.
because I got a little joke. So, for those people who have seen the John Wick films, if you go back to the very first one where, John goes into the Continental for the first time, he meets up with Winston, and, it's kind of a cheerful reunion. But, Winston kind of berates him, says, you about coming back into the, the assassin world, sort of like, you got out. If you dip your pinky back in, you have no idea what may come out and drag you back in. And I feel like that's kind of some of the Sonic stuff. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna, dip a toe in. It's like, oh god, and next thing you know, you're you're just getting dragged under by some force that is
reading the comics, playing the games. You're getting into debates online about Shadow's shoes and how they work.
You're hanging out on the writers' Discord, chit-chatting and all that. It's crazy.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I guess you can kind of see that Sega's aware of this because obviously they're trying to bring back all these old games, because otherwise we're stuck here privateering them. Because, oh boy, some of these you can't even, like, access. I mean, like, what's really funny sometimes, it's like, what's that one Tales Adventure game with, like, Witch Card in it? It's like, can you even buy that game anywhere? I mean, you can buy it on Mercari in Japan here, but it's, like, it's not cheap. It's like, it's not something you can just, like, find at a garage sale or find at a video game store.
I think they put it on Sonic Origins Plus.
Did they? Okay, all right.
Let me look that up.
Did, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Tales Adventure was for the Game Gear, right?
Yeah.
That's how I played it.
All right. Yeah, because I don't even know how much of this is accessible. Because I'm not sure if this is like Sega's fault for like not telling me that it's accessible or what, or like the messaging is confusing. But that's
it says play 12 classic Sonic Game Gear titles on modern platforms.
Right. They did introduce that one. Okay.
Sonic Drift 2, Sonic and Tails 2, and Tails Adventure. Yeah, so that's all on that's Sonic on Origins Plus.
Okay, so it's on Origins Plus. All right. Mystery solved.
Okay, cool. At least that game could be played. Yeah.
Like what is like even the Shogakukan comic or like the Dengeki comic, like those things are hard to find. I mean, I found them, but through
Oh, you mean like physical copies or scans?
Well, the scans. Well, because I had to find physical copies at the library. So it's like because they have like these back issues. Like because supposedly in the National Diet Library they have like copies of everything from like the year 500 or something. Like these crazy backlogs.
Ancient scrolls.
Yeah, they do. You can actually check them out. You can actually check out ancient scrolls. It's insane. And like here I am getting like these Sonic the Hedgehog books from the 90s,
The ancient texts.
Yeah, no, they have literal ancient texts there, and they stink. They smell awful. The ones that are ancient, at least. You should go there, Malzilla, and I'll take you there, and you can see how bad they stink.
Okay, well, that's next time when I come.
Yeah, come for the smells. That's all I can say.
No.
I don't know. So, Chauvel, one thing I wanted to ask, in terms of like you being into comic books, you said you started with DC and Marvel. What is it that you would say got you into DC and Marvel from like a young age?
Having a comic book store in walking distance of my house.
That was it. Just having a comic book store really close.
The funny thing about the comic book store, the shutters, when they close the store, like once every 2 years they'll repaint it with something else.
Okay.
The outside with graffiti, like they'll purposely like just graffiti some really cool stuff on the outside. So when I was young, the first memory I have of that store doing that was Batman and Superman. They did a whole Justice League spray painting mural on the shutters. The year after, it was games. It was Sega games. So you had Sonic and a bunch of other characters and stuff like that. And then after a while, this was the last one they did. They did a Dragon Ball one, a Dragon Ball Z one, with Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, Cell Saga stuff. So that was on their shutter. So that kind of drew me in to go into the comic book store and just look around, see what was featured that week. They had the stand called Comic of the Week or something like that. And that's how I kind of got in. I just walked into the store one day. I had some money, brought an issue. And surprisingly, my first comic was an Archie comic, not Sonic, but an Archie comic digest.
Okay.
But after that, it was like, oh, that Spider-Man one looks cool. Or, wow, that one has Batman on it. Or, X-Men, I love Wolverine. So stuff like that. So, yeah, that's how it kind of started.
Do you remember, like, what stories that or like, characters in particular that you liked about, like, certain comics that you bought?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure, and this is just vague memory. I'm pretty sure I started reading Venom's I'm not saying I saw it during the month it debuted, but it was definitely in the boxes or back issues. But Venom appeared for the first time, and he was the rage, like him and Spawn.
Okay.
Venom and Spawn. So if you saw a cover with Venom on it, that was my thing. I was picking that up for sure. If you saw a cover with Spawn on it with Image Comics, Image was coming up, it was blowing up. You know, Rob Liefeld was the artist, so was Jim Lee. Um, I'm not gonna pretend that I wasn't a Rob Liefeld fan. You know, I'm not gonna say like, oh, he was so lame, like he couldn't draw feet. Back then, no one was saying that. He was just the cool guy drawing comics.
You were
So
young.
Spawn, I was young, and I have an odd respect for Todd McFarlane, not Todd McFarlane. Yeah. I have an odd respect for him even today. It's just like I can't even make fun of him honestly. But yeah, those are the stories I remember. I remember the stories being bad.
Okay.
This is 90s comics. Like if you just go back and read some of them, they're so over the top edgy. Like it's kind of hard to remember a specific story because literally this not literally the stories were kind of bleeding together. It felt like every writer was trying to outdo the other in terms of what can we do to make this gruesome or make this tragic or make this sad. And I kind of drifted away from the Marvel DC stuff for a while, and I started buying. Ironically, I got into more edgier comic stories by buying Image comics, and this was before Image was making stories like The Walking Dead or Invincible. This was like they had so many one-shot comics that just like did not make it past like issue 3, and I still have them. Still have a whole bunch of comics that were over the top stupid, and I loved it. I absorbed it all up, and sometimes when I go back to all my old comics, my mom kept. So I like going to her. Sometimes I'll go up to the attic to get something that I need, and I'll see this box of comics, and I'll read through them just for fun. They're falling apart, these pages, but it's nice to see what I grew up with, what I loved, the styles I tried to copy, and it was that's how I kind of became a huge comic nerd because even though the stories weren't great, they did introduce me to the world of comics, and they have a lot of good comics out there. Sure, there's a lot of bad ones, but there are a lot of great ones too.
Okay, well, not to pigeonhole you here a little bit, but were you
Mm-hmm.
turned on by the edge? Was it the edge that excited you about these stories?
Oh, absolutely. I'm
Okay.
the perfect. I was the perfect age. This was
Okay.
cool. Seeing something like Superboy uses laser beams to kill someone or
Right,
something
right.
in the most gruesome manner, or I'm trying to think of a really good one. The Clone Wars or something like that with the Clone Saga. I keep saying Clone Wars. Sorry, that's a completely different franchise. The Clone Saga with Spider-Man,
And
or
Riley.
oh yeah, or Young Blood.
Yeah.
Like those were cool. The huge guns Cable had. Yes, the pouches. We make jokes about them now, but people make jokes about them in like hindsight. You know, when
Pouches were
you're a
insane.
kid, yeah, when you're a kid, that shit was just cool. Everyone was drawing them in their notebook. But you
Exactly.
grew out of it. You kind of wanted more. You kind of something with more substance, something less violent, and that's what kind of happened to me. I didn't actually grow out of comics. I just grew out of those edgy comics, and I started reading more. I was gonna say sophisticated, but I did go through my indie comic phase.
What sort of substance would you say you were looking for?
But it was during the time where I was looking for stories that were just more sweet, more
Oh, okay.
personal. You know, like where there was like a story of the artist's life or something funny and lighthearted. And I went through that, and I went through like going through like reading more deeper stories. Like there was blankets, Persepolis,
Okay.
mouse, you know, so on and so
More
forth.
character based. Those are like
Yeah.
Okay.
And and then after a while, I started going back into the mainstream comics. Image was starting to do The Walking Dead and Invincible and Savage Dragon, which was kind of a blend between edgy comic books but also satirical. So I kind of really liked that one. And all this, I was still reading Sonic up until the infamous Slap issue.
Well, speaking of the slap, because this is like the 20-year anniversary of the slap. It's crazy. So,
yeah,
I know, right? Poor John Gray. Poor John Gray. Obviously, it looks like you got in on the pre-boot, but like so much of your artwork I've seen was post-boot. Did you have a preference? Like, when did one become better than the other?
There's a good reason for that, actually.
Okay.
I was really starting to hate the comic even before the slap. Like, wow. The stories, I was like holding on to a thread, knowing that this isn't going anywhere. I'm really not caring for this Knuckles side adventure that he's doing, turning green
Knuckles
and all
family.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Knuckles family. I didn't like the fact that when Knuckles series ended, he kind of, I think it was Penders who kind of like split the main comic in half. So the first half was Sonic stuff, and the second half was Knuckles thing. I
think that was more of an editorial decision.
Yeah, probably editorial. So I won't blame him on it. I won't blame you for this one, Penders. I'm sorry, but it was kind of annoying. And by the time, like I said, the slap was the issue. I dropped it before I picked it up. I picked it up much later when everyone was telling me that it was good again because Ian Flynn started writing, but I didn't jump in immediately. I was just kind of like a little like, I bet it's not as great as they're saying it is. But that issue with the slap, I was just like, yep, I'm gonna spend my money on something else. Oof. And I actually was so upset. Not so upset, like I'm a big dramatic person. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to redraw this issue, but the way I wanted to. And I actually liked John Gray's art in it. I liked it. It was cartoony. It was fun, but I felt the story wasn't fun to go with that style.
It's an interesting thing because it's like John Gray has this amazing, almost old school Disney art style.
Yes.
And have you seen that Crisis of Two, like Infinite Crisis?
Yes.
That like
I have. That was oh my god. How many hours did he put into that? You gotta love the dedication.
Yeah. Has gotten the artists are generally better than what they had in the Archie days. What story and art have to have a symbiotic tone, and the story of the slap in John Gray's style was not exactly simpatico. Like the Return to Angel Island stuff, that worked. Everyone loves his redesign of Lian Da with the hair, dreads. But the slap was just, that was just like his first issue. And it's just like, man, just like of all the issues to start off with, like your very animated style.
With the issue where I dropped it. It's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that just caused so much drama. It's like you felt bad.
You did. And I liked the art. I thought it was like, oh, this would be really cool if it was like for something else. Like, not this story, but definitely something else. But yeah, I dropped it for a long time.
Wait, before we move on to the next part, did you say that you redrew some of it? Did you say that?
Oh yes, I did. I don't have it on me.
Oh, you don't have it on you?
No.
Was this like a physical drawing?
It was a physical paper. I went and brought a Bristol board paper, 11 by 17, and I redrew that entire issue except I changed the ending.
I'd love to see this. You should scan this. I'd love to see it.
I have to find it. I am really hoping that my mom likes to keep everything I drew, so I'm hoping she kept that one. When I was living with her at the time, I just kind of like dumped all my childhood stuff into our attic.
But like, thanks, Mom. Bye.
Bye.
I'll pick this up in 12
I'm gonna
years.
live with 10 roommates now. But so I had that. I changed the ending where Sally felt bad for slapping Sonic, and they made up. You know, just like. But by the time I sketched it, I was gonna ink it and scan it too. By the time I sketched the whole thing, I was like, I think I'm done with Sonic for a little bit.
Wow. No, I'd love to see this.
Yeah, I do too. So when did you come back? Like, do you remember the issue that kind of like
Absolutely.
you back in?
They told this was the issue right before the first reboot. They say they kissed and she got shot. That was and I was like, and I picked it up then, and I started reading it then on, and I did go back to read some of the issues I missed. Particularly, I read where Ian picked up, and I reread some of those issues. It's now very vague in my memory, but I have to reread the series again sometime. But
what did you think of Sally and Monkey Khan?
God, I hated that.
Queen arc.
Okay.
I think Monkey Khan. He's not a very interesting character to me.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. They tried so hard to make them a thing, and it's like, this doesn't. Maybe I'm biased because Sonic and Sally forever, but it felt really like, this guy's not doing it for me. I mean, I was gonna make a terrible joke. I mean, I like the triangle between Jeffrey St. John and I do Monkey Khan, but it was this one. His character's a little bit, iffy to me, and just it's not good.
Okay, so you got pretty much back into the comics around the one where Sally gets turned into Swiss cheese, and
yeah,
off panel because I can't show that.
Panel, yes.
Yeesh. Sally can't catch a break.
Well, I mean, she's probably the only character that probably Sega's like, yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care. I mean, she's not Amy. The funny thing
is that, like, if you take what Pender said, true, they were going to kill her in, the Endgame saga, but then they said, no, don't kill her.
It's like, no, she actually brings in some money, so keep her around for a little longer.
Yeah.
People know who that is,
Now it's like we're going to pump her full of lead, and then we're going to reset everything, and then we're going to make her actual lead.
Yeah,
and then we're going to reboot the continuity and just piss everyone off.
Well, here's the funny thing about that, right? Because, I'm like, the previous episode of this show, I'm a terrible reader sometimes. Like, I'm like a person that's looking at their phone while reading a comic book, right? And I mean, you're sweating me last episode about, not actually reading it like thoroughly. And I wasn't. I don't actually thoroughly read them sometimes. Because I remember seeing like the Robot Sally thing on the Archie series back when that was a thing. And I remember my mind, like, I had some sort of headcanon that was, like, telling me, oh, so they're finally killing off the character. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what Sega's doing. That's what my mind was telling me. And so I was thinking, maybe I really like this character. Maybe I might go back and reread some of the issues. And my mind was, like, telling me, don't do that. Just look at the pictures.
Yeah, let me look at the Wikipedia summary.
Yeah, and I could not find anything that could tell me, because I didn't know that they rebooted it. I didn't know it had so many like hiccups behind the scenes with like all the stuff going on in the kitchen. And so it became very jarring to read that book, and I still have trouble reading it. So anyway, I digress. Okay, so basically you've really gotten back into Sonic this way, and you started drawing lots of fan art. When did you really start posting a lot of stuff online? Was it like around Because I was really slowing down my internet connection here.
The post reboot.
Around the post reboot. Okay.
Yeah. This is kind of funny because I started like I'm not like a 4chan user at all.
Okay.
This is a funny story because my friend, who still is my friend, we've been friends forever, is he's not like he's not someone that goes in there to type racial slurs. He goes to CO to read whatever new comics they put out.
Okay.
And that's when he was telling me that there was this thread on, not, maybe it was CO, I don't know. It was something like that. He said, "Oh, they're doing so many funny jokes or in jokes about the Sonic comic, whatever." And he was the one that gave me links to it because I was not good at browsing that site, nor did I really want to. But
I don't think anyone
for
is.
some reason, the people who weren't there to shitpost, who were actually talking about the comic, talked about these things, these what ifs, like what if the story went this way, what if these theories, and it just like made me want to write my own stuff, like with these characters. I wasn't saying because the comics were doing something bad or I thought I could do better. It was actually the opposite. It's like, wow, this is so inspiring. I want to draw something or write something like this, like something that feels like it fit within the universe because I'm digging this comic. I'm digging the stories. Ian Flynn is knocking it out of the park. At the time, Ben Bates was drawing some issues. Tracy Yardley is becoming like my new favorite artist right now, like that during the time. So I just started posting art on DeviantArt. That's where I started. Because, you know, what artists of my age or even now haven't started at least on DeviantArt just to try it before Twitter was really huge or anything. So it was like the place to post up your art. So I just started just slowly drawing stuff again, making short comic strips or stories about the characters, and eventually I started making fan comics that I didn't finish. I promise you guys, anyone who's listening, who likes my fan comics I never finished, I will be finishing them. I know it's been years, but hey, I'm mostly doing this for myself so I can see it finished. So that's how I started. I started posting on DeviantArt first.
What is the fan comic? Is it of a famous IP
I
or is
have
it original story?
Oh no, it's a fan comic based on the Sonic universe.
Oh, okay. What's the
Yeah,
overall story?
I have a few actually. This was a
Okay.
bad habit of mine of starting a comic and not finishing it to completion, but I made them short. I made a lot of short stories. I'll mention one fan comic I did finish, and I'll mention the others that I plan to finish. A special visit about Eggman's mom, if she was in the rebooted series.
Okay.
So it's Eggman's mom visiting, Mrs. Eggman visiting Dr. Wagner Eggman, and he's trying to hide the fact that he's actually an evil villain. So it's a very lighthearted fan comic, and it's called A Special Visit. Mrs. Eggman comes to visit Dr. Robotnik, whatever. He's trying to hide the fact that he's evil, and Sonic is there to completely mess things up on purpose to drive him nuts. And I drew in all the egg bosses in there, which I dearly miss, like Thunderbolt, Axel, Clove. I drew all the egg bosses in there, and it's just meant to be kind of like a comedic take on like the post reboot Sonic characters, and mostly just to have fun with Mrs. Eggman. And that's just one comic. That was a one shot. So that was like 26 pages or something. I did it
Sounds
from
like a
start to
Sonic
finish.
Boom episode. You could have sold it to them.
It pretty much was. Just very. It also had a very touching end. I also made sure to do that because I thought it was really sweet to put something really nice in there too. I went at these fan comics approaching it in a way like, okay, if I was actually writing for, at the time, Archie, but I still can do my own thing. What would I do? So that's how I kind of approach when I write these fan comics. Another one I did, these are the others that I did I haven't completed, but there was Sonic the Gun Project, which is actually pre-reboots, before the reboot Sonic characters in this what if universe. I did the Gun Project that was supposed to have like 5 parts. I didn't finish that, but I did at least parts. I think I did the first 3 or 4 parts. And then the other one I did was the No Zone Archives, which is based on the No Zone in the Sonic universe. So those are the comics that I haven't completed, but I really would like to complete eventually.
Yeah, I liked the No Zone Adventures of Sonic and Company. Yeah, Sally
the
is kind
first
of
issue I loved. 50 pages. That was a lot.
You had Shadow as the what's the rival from the Phoenix Wright? The games.
Is it? Oh, shoot, it starts with the E, doesn't it?
The E guy.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
He's got like the lace. He's kind of.
It wasn't Edworth, was it?
It might have been. I don't know. I haven't something like that. But I just remember that first issue, like when Shadow pops out. It's like he's got he kind of like adjusts his little suit jacket so it's like his chest stuff is like sticking out, and he's like, it's like, oh yeah, and Zana.
Making Shadow a lawyer
Like,
was
oh
probably
no,
my
not this guy
favorite thing to write in that comic. Which is why I saved him for the end, because when I
But it was always funny because they're like future time, and then Silver showed up, and he's a future time cop, and they're like, it was great.
Yeah, he's a future time cop that's not really good at his job.
Then I remember lazy. Then you had like a little like a teaser image for like Juckles, Julie Sue, and Zelinda, and they're all looking ominous. It's like, who are these guys? Why are they evil?
Yeah, I actually wrote the entire outline to the whole story. Like it was never meant to be a long series. I actually planned a beginning, middle, and end for it and for all the characters. And I would, like I said, it's something I would like to return to just finish. Whether or not people remember it or care, it doesn't matter. It's all for me anyway. Mostly for me, I should say. It's not like fans don't care. I love people who actually love the stories I write and still remember them. It makes me more inspired or more motivated, I should say, to finish it one day.
Well, I'm a firm believer of what is it? What I remember, I listened to this one interview by Jordan Peele. He said the best thing to do when it comes to writing or creating is to always follow the fun. If it's not fun, stop doing it. It's the best. It's the best piece of advice I've ever gotten in terms of like doing something that's creative.
Oh yeah, and these stories are pretty much fun, and not pretty much, they are fun. I have a lot of fun drawing and writing Sonic characters.
Yeah, that's great. In terms of like for projects, like let me ask you this about your artwork today. Are you pretty pleased with where it's at right now? Are you looking to like improve it at all, or is it at a point where you feel like you've reached a high point? Or
oh my god, if this is my high point, I don't think I can live with myself. This is actually where I'm at. It's funny because as a creative type, whether you're an artist, a musician, a writer, it's like I'm at the point where I can look at my work, still see where to improve, but still enjoy it. Like I look at my work, I don't look at it with like, oh my god, this is awful. I don't. I was like, okay, this is pretty good, but this could be better. That could be better. Maybe I would have done that differently. Because I know there are stages you go through. Sometimes artists will go through a stage where I hate my art. I don't like looking at it. I suck. Blah blah blah. And there's I peaked. I peaked. I can't get any better than this. I'm somewhere in between. It's like I don't hate my art. I actually do like most of the work now that I do. I look at it and it's like, okay, that was pretty good, but this is what I could do to do better. That's the kind of stage I'm at right now.
Right. Okay. In terms of like, what is it you feel like you want to improve on? What would you think that would be?
I would love to. I still, if I get to the nitty gritty of it, I love backgrounds. I love creating backgrounds. I love environments. I love building worlds, but I have to improve on that. I'm not exactly a perspective wizard.
It doesn't look
When it
like
comes
Akira or
to,
anything yet.
oh God, I wish one day,
Yeah.
fingers crossed. But I have to improve a lot on that. My art is not like, I don't think I'm Leonardo da Vinci here, but there's always room to improve. But perspective and building a world environment which the characters feel like they live in is something I want to master someday.
All right, that's
And
fair.
when it comes to writing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see myself as a writer first, but when it comes to writing these comics and fan comics, I do read books about writing stories, character arcs, and writing comics in general, which I think kind of helps when making a fan comic so you don't fall into the trappings of characters that act a little too out of character or stories that don't really go anywhere. It's just, reading up on like writing and practicing actually helps too.
Uh, in terms of like reading or writing things that have helped you improve as an artist, is there anything you'd
Mm-hmm.
recommend for people?
Uh, it's funny because I always get into arguments with some people
Oh, okay.
about this, but DC's Guide to Writing.
Okay.
And I know people were saying like, oh yeah, DC's Guide to Writing, hand jerk motion, but it's actually
Okay.
it's really good. It talks about how to write comics professionally. It's not just writing stories, which there are tons, hundreds, thousands of books about how to write a good story. I say read as many as you can, any that looks interesting to you or has a subject that you're interested in. But if you talk about writing comics professionally, which I've never worked for a big company. I worked for a little small indie comic companies before, but when it comes to reading these comics about how to write issues that build up for a year, how to write arcs, how to write branching stories that come together to into one plot, that really helped me. That really, really helped. I think it's a good insight when it comes to writing comics. And DC's Guide to Writing Comics is actually a good book. I had this argument before that people don't think it's good. Also, just to throw one out there that's not comic related, Stephen King Guide to Writing.
Oh, on
I don't
writing?
think
Yeah,
that's the
that one's
title of the
excellent.
book.
I've read
On
that.
writing.
Yeah.
I read that several times. I think it's really good. I think it's something that everyone who's interested in writing should read.
Well, hold on. Well, let me ask you. What is it that people find contentious about DC's Guide to Writing?
Because they felt that it, I guess what can I put this? I guess they felt haven't read it themselves, but it feels like a comic book company telling you about how to write a comic. It should be more broad. You know what I
I
mean?
think they know what they're
It
doing
shouldn't
if
be
they're
just
still around
DC.
today.
Yes,
I think that's
yes,
pretty
that's what I
fair.
kept saying. I guess because they're thinking either maybe they're Marvel fans. I don't know. I
Uh,
just don't think.
it's a bad time
I
to be a
think
DC fan. I can say that much. But
yeah, but the book is great. It could work for anything. It's not only for DC Comics. They use DC stories as an example,
okay,
but you can use it for almost anything.
okay. Well, I'm intrigued. I want to go check it out now. So that's all I can say. Because I've read Stephen
Yeah,
King's on writing. I like that one a lot. So
yeah. DC's Guide to Writing. It's pretty informative. I like sort of reading a bunch of books. Of some things will be more helpful than others, obviously, but I just absorb and take what you can get. Like cherry pick the information you want if you have to.
in
Get the
terms
best out of every book you read.
in terms of like artwork, is there any that you recommend in terms of like getting better at
Wow,
art?
there's so many.
Was there any
I'm gonna
like
go with the classics.
okay, classics?
There's what am I? Dynamic Anatomy.
Okay.
Uh, Dynamic Anatomy by Bern Hogarth, I think. That's like comic book lover 101 and it comes to drawing anatomy. He's it's exaggerated. The proportions are very superhero heroic like, but I think that's a great jumping off point to learn because you do want to exaggerate a little bit with your art. It helps like it gives that Kirby-ism if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That made him stick out between other artists of his time. It was just that dynamic, that bold look, and I think Dynamic Anatomy, and to go with that, Dynamic Hands, of course. Anatomy for Artists is a great book. Force is another great book. It's called Force Dynamic Figure Drawing for Animators. Now, even though it's for animators, I think it's perfect for any artist. Go check that out. Really great book. There's also Understanding Anatomy. There's just so many books that you can just find. It's amazing. It's like a treasure trove now. So I highly recommend if there's a specific subject you're thinking of, just Amazon is your friend, or go to a bookstore if they're still around. That's what I did, so I can flip through the book to see if it's something I actually want to buy. So yeah, those are just my beginner's recommendations.
Okay, so pretty much just find something that has anatomy in the title.
Oh yeah, you want to
Okay.
start with? Oh, I mentioned so many anatomy. There's also Scott McCloud. This is something that doesn't really involve drawing, but it's also just as helpful. Scott McCloud, Understanding Comics, is an excellent book it came out in the 90s and it still holds up today. Everything he writes in there is still relevant. So there's by same writer and comic book artist, Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, Reinventing Comics, and How to Draw Comics. Like that, it's like a trilogy of books that just work together.
All right.
He gets into the big theory of why comics work the way they do.
Okay. So I guess I sort of have to ask about this because this is the world we live in today. What is your opinion on AI generated quote unquote artwork?
Ooh, that is something that a lot of I'm not keen, to put it lightly. I am not very keen on generative AI images. I don't even like to say AI art or AI artists because that's not what it is. These are generated images, not created by a human being. It's so weird how I get into this conversation, even with people who are not artists, who but they play around with prompts to use generative AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
Not to the people I know, they're not doing it to deceive. They're just doing it because it seems like the new thing, It's like, oh, cool. I just
it's the new
type in a
fidget
bunch
spinner,
of
right?
words.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like so cool. I type in a bunch of words and I get like
an NFT.
Human Shadow the Hedgehog with 18 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can get their point of view because this is something new and exciting to them. And then you have the other people who specifically use it because they generally believe that they want to replace artists. They have this weird, like some AI bros, which what I call them, hate artists with such contempt that I just don't understand. Like I've seen the discourse online of people making AI accounts saying like, just like pretending that they're being bullied or something. I just don't get their actual hate for artists. I don't understand. Like, we're gonna replace you. We're gonna do this and that, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, bro. I don't know what you have against me. I don't even know you. I don't know. Did an artist kill your grandmother? It's
like
so
that scene
weird.
from iRobot, where it's like,
Yeah.
can a machine create a masterpiece? It's like, well, can you? It's like, well, I can't, but I know someone who can. I pay them money. They make what I want.
Those AI bros, and I'll keep going down the rabbit hole here. And then there's the AI people who are really legit trying to make a quick buck.
Oh
The
yeah, the
AI generated
grifters.
images, grifters, yeah. It definitely reminds me of NFTs. It reminded me of what was like before NFTs. There's Bored Apes.
Oh yeah.
It just reminds. It's just like one grift after another, and I
What cracks
understand
me up,
completely. Like, oh, go ahead.
it's just what cracks me up is like, you see people like they have Patreons, and they make AI stuff. It's
Yeah,
like,
I've
yeah,
seen that. Yeah.
like pay me
Yeah,
so
me
I can
too.
put in your prompt in the machine. So like, pay
I
me
don't get
$5.
that.
I don't get that at
I
all.
just feel like
It's
it's like, dude, just do it yourself. Like, I'm not an AI person at all, but I was like, dude, just don't pay someone to do this. Here's a program. Have fun. Let it vomit out 500 images. At least you didn't pay for it. Because that's wild to me. I don't know who's paying for this, or maybe someone who's not really savvy enough to find a Bing search to put in their prompt or something like that. It's very very unusual. I don't know why it exists. I mean, Patreon allows AI quote unquote artists to get paid for this. I don't understand. So in terms
strange.
of the future of AI, I know that it's getting to a point where it's almost seamless now, almost seamless to
Yeah, you can't even
the
tell the
artist.
difference, right?
Yeah, you
Some
can't even tell the difference. Sometimes you get duped and you like something and you find out it's AI. And it's like, oh, that fucking sucks. Um, and now they're doing AI videos where it looks like a time lapse video, and I just think, yeah, it sucks. I don't feel threatened. I don't think any artist should feel threatened. It's up if you work for a major company. The companies just want a quick buck. They want to replace us since the get go. But it feels like it's gonna eventually hit some sort of wall here. I'm not saying AI is just here to stay. I hate to say that, but it is a Pandora's box that was opened and you can't close it. Um, but the important thing is, I think if you're an artist, if you still enjoy the things that you do, there's always going to be an opportunity out there to sort of continue to do what you love. The starving artist was a term that was even before AI made it to the scene. Sadly, art is a very difficult medium to actually survive off of, but I think there will always be an opportunity to actually utilize it with your skills. Yeah, there are AI time lapse videos now, but this is what I started doing, not because I was scared or anything. I actually did it because I just like it. I started drawing traditionally again. I started selling traditional art, paintings, stuff that you really can't recreate on a PC
Oh yeah, like
because it's
physical
real,
media.
something
Yeah.
you feel and touch.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's a market for that now. People want, like, I want to buy this physical thing that I can touch, the ink work, the painting. I want this. So unless they unless you get a nice printer that looks like actual human painting strokes that has the mistakes and everything, I think we're okay for now.
Yeah, it's gonna be some time for
Personal
that before we get
opinions.
there. But yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we have some time, guys. Don't worry.
It reminds me of one of
That's
those
my
scenes
opinion.
in Parks and Rec where what's his face is Nick Offerman's Ron Swanson. He's building,
Mhm.
he's a wood carpenter and he's building a chair, and he makes a chair and it's amazing, and then he just destroys it. And they're like, "Why'd you do it?" Because it looks like it was made by a machine. It's too perfect. I got to do it again. And that's the thing is
I love
like,
that episode.
I love that show. And that's the thing with with me and AI, and I really don't do it a whole lot, but it is kind of fun to observe from a distance, because it's like, if you look at enough, you can kind of tell like AI has its own unique kind of style of like it's too clean.
Yeah, it's too perfect.
It's too perfect. It's too clean. It's like, man, I like this, but like, there's something off. There's like no style, like the hand style to it. But then it's always funny, like when people do like AI with Sonic stuff. It's like the AI can't comprehend like a Sonic person's anatomy, and they have like they end up with an extra arm, and it's just like AI fails
They're
is
too
actually really
tall, too
hilarious.
stretched out. Yeah. Like it's kind of weird because someone would ask me, "Are you?" It's another artist. It almost feels like, I better watch my words next. It's like, "Are you for or against AI? You have to choose." And that's like, of course, on a moral standpoint, when it comes to grifting, cheating, I'm against it. AI, absolutely. I don't like it personally. It's not my thing. But in the other side, I can understand, like I said, my friends who like to write in prompts to get something, or they use Chat GPT because it's interesting and fun to them. I also think, okay, I get your excitement. It's a new thing. It does this amazing thing. They're not artists. It does this amazing thing that you never thought you were able to do in your lifetime.
Yeah, I'd say
But
that's very fair. That's really fair.
yeah, and it's like I can understand. I think it helps to have a wide range of friends who are not artists, who are either just people with normal jobs or they're musicians or whatever, and just seeing their point of view of all this. And it's interesting, but I just think it's gonna eventually hit a wall. People move on. People do get bored. The thing with AI art, I'm saying myself, AI generated images. It's just that you can make so much. You can make like 500 images in like a span of like minutes. And the problem with that is that it gets oversaturated
Oh
to the
yeah.
point where it just gets boring again.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just think that's what's kind of happening. Like my friends who are into that are using Chat GPT more than the generated images because they've seen it already. It's like, okay, I've done this a million times. I'm not really doing anything unique or new. There's like 10,000 images of the variations of the same thing over and over again. It's slightly better than the last, but nothing that's going to blow my mind. So you can kind of see it happening, the pushback to AI too, in the industry as well. People are now only getting jobs unless the contract specifically said you will not train my art on AI. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm personally sitting in the background looking to see where this goes because I could be wrong.
You and
Maybe
me both.
it'll blow up to something new.
It's hard for me to really have an opinion on this. So I don't really want to, be in one camp, be in like I'm against AI or I'm a for AI. It's kind of hard to like, because to me, like, what was it? Like with NFTs, it was a bit easier to like be in one camp. You're like, no, this is all a gold rush. This is gambling. This is
Yes,
not.
it is.
Like
It just doesn't make sense what it does.
What?
Well, like that was the whole thing with like NFTs, in my opinion, was just like, oh, it's stored on the chain. Well, what stops me from doing, you know, control, copy, and save?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's the code, it's the chain, it's the blockchain that's important.
Yeah.
And you ask why?
exactly. It's like
If it's not the image, what is it that you're paying for?
exactly.
The idea. You're buying an idea, Malzilla.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or they said they're investing.
Yeah.
Investing. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. But yeah, I'm kind of with y'all on that one. But yeah, it's unfortunately we live in a very interesting time to be alive in multiple forms of media and expression, and we're just kind of seeing where all things which way the wind blows at any given moment.
All right, then. I would like to pivot a little bit here to our final segment of the show. As I talked about earlier, the Iizuka elevator pitch. Now, I had something to say about this before we lay this podcast to rest, or the show to rest, whatever you want to call this medium that we're using. And the thing I wanted to bring up particularly with like this last panel that he was on, I think Iizuka looks at Sonic more in terms of it being a business than in terms of it, being like something creative or something, artistic. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yes.
I don't disagree. I think you're valid because it was kind of one of those things where, like, when we were talking about the panel, and I've always kind of wanted, voice actors are kind of an interesting profession nowadays, because it's like you have these people voicing these characters, like it's a job for them. It's like, okay, I get paid X amount of dollars to go in for a booth for a few hours. I get to pretend to be someone, and then the next day I'm someone else. And it's just like, it's kind of that the actor is not the character type thing. And I always kind of get that with, the game developers, or especially the game developers management. It's like Takashi Iizuka, it seems like he does care about the franchise, but it does seem like he's a little bit more on the business side of things than the creative, well, for example, or just kind of the lore side of things. It's like, I've always kind of wondered, because I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft back in the day. I haven't played in probably about 8 months now. I'm pretty proud of myself. But back in the day, Blizzard Entertainment had, oh God, what's his, he was kind of like their, God, why do I forget his name? Chris Metzen. Chris Metzen is he was like the vice president.
Old Malzilla. Take your pills.
I'm taking my pills, Chris
Hansen, yes.
You see right there.
Same guy.
Metzen was the vice president of franchise development. So, like, he would come out at, like, every BlizzCon. People would go crazy. He had the whole, like, he led the story teams. Like, he knew just about, I mean, there was just some things that ultimately, he kind of, like, would forget or overlook, because he's managing it on a macro level. But I always kind of felt like, I know Sonic's kind of put in, like, a lore team that, like, I think, like, Ian kind of, like, because Ian's still freelance. He's not a Sega full-time employee, but, he kind of, consults on every now and then. It's kind of like, we need our outside consultant. Ian, get over here. Yeah. But it's like, I feel like Sega needs someone to be kind of that, not just like the vice president of like the production side, but like the vice president of like a story direction. Like, who's like, okay, they're working with like the game director saying, okay, this is kind of the game we're making. Okay, we're going to have these kind of levels. Okay, our team's going to set this up. This is the story of the adventure, and so on and so forth. So it's like, so they can be the ones who kind of go on these panels and give like, like the 10-minute like lore bomb of like, oh yeah, Shadow, he's so complicated. He's, in this game he was doing this, or where like '06 he was dealing with Mephiles, Crisis of Faith. But then, back, that they kind of need their hype like executive guy to kind of come in and like do these kind of fan panels. Because, like, Iizuka seems like he's kind of like the nuts and bolts. Like, okay, this is the next game we're in production. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to go back and hang out with the developers now. So, you, come talk to the fans. Talk about Sonic's love for chili dogs or Shadow's love for coffee beans. Because it really has
come talk to these nerds.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
So that's Malzilla's stealth elevator pitch for Iizuka.
That's more like the stuff like, you should make me that guy. Give me the key. No, I'm sure I would probably run the franchise into the ground if I did that.
You never know that.
I know. I
don't know.
Would.
I would be surprised to see what actually goes on. I'm sure there's lots of stuff they don't tell us, or lots of things that they're scared to death of like letting fans know that what actually goes on behind the curtain.
They're scared to death of Sally Acorn. Let's be real now.
Why now? Come on. Why?
They're scared of her power.
I disagree. Yeah. I disagree. Anyway, Chauvel, thoughts?
My thoughts. You mean if I had an elevator pitch of something?
Yeah, elevator pitch. Do you think Iizuka does this in terms of looking at Sonic too much like a business? You know, do you think there needs to be more creativity, that sort of thing?
It's certainly that. I do feel that, especially getting back into the franchise a little bit more, just reading these interviews, these clips, whatever Twitter wants to fight about this week. And I was like, yeah, he's definitely looking at it in a business savvy sort of way. There are other people. Like that. Yeah, you do need someone like that. It's like we all can't be dreamers, or else we will run the franchise to the ground. But it'd be nice to have a really strong creative director, which I think you're kind of seeing now. But I like to see more of it. Like the short is like the shadow short to actually circle back to that in the beginning to bring it all together. I really love that, just a glimpse of creative freedom you see in there. And I wish I could see more and bring back Sally. I don't care how you do it. I don't care anymore. Bring her back as a background character. I'm good.
I have like 5 different ways I could bring Sally back. One of these days,
I'm literally desperate for anything.
Bring her back as a bad guy. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Okay, so nothing you would want to ask Iizuka for personally, like besides like Sally Acorn. Is there any other characters you wish to come back, or things you'd like to see in a video game?
I would kind of like hint and nudge at him to play with nostalgia a little bit more, since as much as fans will claim for any franchise that they hate nostalgia, it works. It would work.
So you feel like they don't push into nostalgia enough?
I think they do a lot, but not in the ways that I would do it personally. It seemed like they always bring up these characters and just kind of like drop them. Like they have a toy box of characters, like Styx, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're probably never gonna see her again, but I kind of like the idea of like just getting a bunch of obscure stuff like Ian does and playing around with it, like just make it in a huge world. Like I know Sally kind of ties into this, but you know what millennials like? They like the freedom fighters.
Mm-hmm. And we're the ones spending the money right now.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're old enough to spend money now.
The kids, they don't have any money. I mean, we're living in like a world. I was reading a book about this the other day that because I was looking at like this picture of like McDonald's back in the 90s, McDonald's now, right? I'm like, why the hell does it look that way? This is ugly, right? And there was a book that came out here in Japan. It was all about the Shoshinka, excuse me. I need to look up the words. Which is the declining birth rate. And it's all about how the declining birth rate is really playing into people's wallets. They're deciding like, well, we can't make it for kids anymore. We have to make it for everyone. So, basically, my theory is that this is one way you could sort of sell the freedom fighters is that you have to make this for everyone. And like, what do people remember? You know, I mean, I've said this 100 times and I'll say it 100 times again. You can't escape your past. That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm. That is true. We're tied to it. And as much as I love new things, which I do, I don't mind mixing it up. You don't have to completely go in the opposite side of the spectrums. Like, it's going to be only nostalgia, only classic Sonic forever and 2D platforming, 2D side-scrolling, whatever. You can mix it up, put a little old and new. Like I said, having the Freedom Fighters sort of rebooted into a new universe. They don't have to take front and center. Not asking for much, just some cameos. And the games, like, just don't forget about all these characters you built. Styx was a really fun character. I think you can revisit sometimes. I don't know how she'll fit into it now. I'm just talking about this cameo stuff at this point. But it seems like, and in terms of being creative, this is something that's just my personal thing. Can we have an animated series that looked just as good as that short, please? 12 episodes, Netflix, You did it with Prime, but can we have it 2D, 3D kind of thing? With a better storyline, I'm down for that. I think a lot of people would be.
I'd be down.
Yeah, I'd be down like a clown.
I have a final question for Chauvel before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
What has you most excited about the Sonic franchise going forward? What is the thing that has kind of made you the most excited? What are you looking forward to the most?
Since I haven't played any of the recent games, I can't say I'm excited for Shadow Generations. I'm interested, but I'm not gonna buy it day one, I think. But what I'm excited about is just to go back to go back to my comic book roots. I hope that this ID, because I read the last issue of IDW with
the Phantom Rider.
The Phantom Rider, which I'm just like, okay, this is fun. I think I'll just stick with it, and I'm excited for the next issue, which is I know it's probably a short arc, but I'm excited to see where it goes because I gotta tell you, it's been a little too stale and dramatic for my taste, but this one just seems like they're just having fun for once, and I'm just like, I'm on board.
I think this is at least going to go through issue 75 because that's like, a big issue number, and they're like at 71 right now. So feels like they'll finish it up in 75, and then we'll get into a new arc.
Which I don't mind. It's just basically how it's always been. So I'm not too upset by that. I just want to see. It's like I just want to see it have. I just want to see the writers and everyone just have fun with the story. I don't think I need something that deep when it comes to Sonic. Sure, I like it when it goes that way. Like the whole Surge's backstory was great, but I just don't need that. I don't need what's the zombie arc all over again.
Oh, Metal Virus, yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit of a drag. Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping for a fun arc, and I'm hoping that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the comics again.
Are you excited for movie 3?
Oh, I almost forgot because we haven't seen a trailer yet.
We're starting to get thoughts about that. They're, it's funny because like today they released a teaser trailer for Captain America: Brave New World, which comes out in February of next year. Here we are 5-6 months away from Sonic 3, and we haven't gotten anything yet.
Anything.
Like,
yeah.
We haven't even gotten like an official confirmation that Keanu is Shadow.
I think they're probably doing a redubbing or something. Maybe the Keanu thing didn't go through.
Think of that, maybe something fell through and they had to get someone else, which would be kind of a bummer because I know a lot of people were excited for Keanu.
Yeah, I'm one of them, but I'm thinking like maybe it didn't quite work out, so they're just
a lot of people are excited for the Keanu thing. It's not just Sonic fans.
Maybe he's asking for a little too much. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I really hope, fingers crossed, we'll get a trailer soon.
Again,
watch it comes out Sunday while we do this show.
Well, it's because apparently they've been releasing all the San Diego Comic-Con like schedules this week, and they haven't really seen anything about it. But apparently there's this unknown 6 p.m. time slot, I think Hall H on Thursday, that has not been claimed yet. So I feel like they got to get something out this month. Doesn't have to be much.
They really do need to.
Because like if they've had ready footage for this since like April when they did CinemaCon, that's like 3 months ago. Yeah.
That's why I thought it was like pretty surprising that we didn't get anything from it yet.
And of course, that's not even.
I thought like, wow, they have to put everything together and make a nice trailer. And now I'm just like, okay, something's up.
And that's not even counting if Amy's in the movie or not, because that's kind of a whole nother can of worms.
I know. It's weird. I'm kind of surprised. I don't think Amy's gonna be in it, but it's surprising that she's not. but whatever.
I think she is. I would be very shocked that if they, 3 movies in and still all the guys.
It's your optimism's so nice, Malzilla.
I try. I try to see the good.
I want her to be in this. The whole like confusing Shadow with Sonic thing would be cute, but
it would be very cute.
I guess we'll just see.
It's a plot point from the games. It's like, how could you not have that? I don't get it. But whatever.
Maybe they're editing scenes with her in because they realized the massive mistake of not having her in it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out sooner or later.
Yeah,
I guess.
We'll find out. Yeah. We might. I mean, no. The truth always comes out. It always does. I mean, whether it's like 5 or 50 years late, it'll come out.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I need to wrap things up here on my end. I have some prior engagements because it is the middle of the day for me. I know on your part of the world, you're probably winding down. So just to plug a few of our things, be sure to join our Discord. If you like hearing our messages, be sure to, follow us on Spotify. Do we have an Instagram? I don't even know if we have an Instagram. We don't have an Instagram, do we?
We don't have an Instagram.
Okay, we have a Tumblr, we have a Twitter. But first and foremost, I'd like to shout out Chauvel. Is there anything you would like to plug or anything you'd like to tell us, tell the audience at home?
Sure, I'll plug a couple of things. This is given the podcast, I'll only plug my Safe for Work. But I have a Safe for Work, S Chauvel on Twitter. That's SCHAUVEL on Twitter. I also have a YouTube. I think it's just Chauvel. No S. And the only thing I wanted to plug there really is that this animation I did of metal adaptation of Sonic Universe issue 50. I did a whole animated short. We passed the 1-year anniversary of that, but if you guys check it out, that would mean a lot to me. It put a lot of hard work. The voice actors put a lot of hard work in it. It was years to come, and it finally was finished last year. So that's what I wanted to plug, my Twitter, my YouTube. If you go to Twitter, I do have a pinned tweet with all my links. So if you want to find the rest of my socials, it'll be there.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how much great Sally Acorn art you've done in the past that was led for my discovery to your artwork. So
thank you.
It really is something.
I plan to do a lot more.
Really? Okay. All right. Yeah. So
just because I'm out of the game doesn't mean I'm going to stop drawing Sally. I'm actually getting back. Like I said, I'm getting back into Sonic, and I'm hit with the bug. I just want to draw more.
Well, keep drawing. You're doing all of us a favor.
Yeah. Because Malzilla and I, we are on the group to try to bring back Sally Acorn, the Rally for Sally group. Be sure to follow us. We are Strength in Numbers, and I'm pretty sure, based on our conversation today, Iizuka and Co., our company, for those people who don't know what Co. is, they really only look at numbers, so your follow, your, retweets, your comments are very important to us. Because it helps boost them numbers. All I can really say.
Keep pushing that. Use the hashtag if you need to.
Yeah, Rally for Sally, of course. Yes. And I believe we have your blessing to share any of your artwork on our page. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Knock yourself out. I'm not really anal about it. You can post it anywhere.
Okay. So, Malzilla, Chauvel, anything you want to say before we go?
Again, Chauvel, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us for a couple hours, being our
Thank you
first
for having
guest.
me. Actually,
if you ever feel like you want to,
very very flattering.
Well, if you ever feel like you want to come back, you're always more than welcome to hop on in. Hopefully, maybe we can do once movie 3 comes out, we can do a big old show of like, was it actually good? SA2 the movie.
Oh, no. I can't wait for like 90% humans and the rest will be about Shadow and Sonic. But I kid. I look forward to the movie.
Live and Learn is in the movie. It will be in the movie. probably in the credits.
I'm worried it's going the Knuckles route, man. But anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there. More Wade Watts, or whatever the hell his name is. What's his name?
Wade Whipple.
Wade Watts is what? Ready Player One. Let's just have him.
Yeah. Let's not have that guy.
Yeah, let's not have that character. Yeah. All right then. So what Sonic quote are we ending on this time? Chauvel, you got anything? We usually try to end the show with some sort of Sonic quote. I don't know.
It has to be a Shadow quote. We gotta do something a Shadow said. All right. I guess I'll see you around, Faker.
Is that Sonic? Doesn't Sonic say that? No.
It's Sonic's. No, I don't know.
I'll look for it.
Let's pretend he did.
Okay.
Let's just we'll just chaos control out of here. Let's keep it simple, right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Chaos control.